Hello, Ralph Edwards. As I've mentioned before, most of our This Is Your Life classics were done live, which meant that we had to surprise our principal subjects and get them back to our studio during a 1-minute commercial break. Now, fortunately, on the night of March 27, 1957, the Academy Awards were being presented at a theater just a block away from our stage, and it was my good fortune to surprise a very beautiful lady. Now, watch this.
I can't think of a more glamorous way to start our festivities here at this most glamorous of all nights for Hollywood than having one of the truly glamorous stars of our city. It's Maureen O'Hara. Maureen, a pleasure to greet you.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Conte.
I understand. Please call me John.
All right.
I understand you've just returned home from an extensive tour around the country.
Yes, I was on tour for Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer for the picture Wings
Hello,
of
John.
the Eagles, which I made.
Hello.
Hello, Maureen. How are you? Sure, and what are you discussing?
We're discussing Maureen's new picture, The Wings of Eagles, is it?
Oh, you
That's
are,
right.
eh?
This is the life story of, who was it, the writer?
She can't think of anything right now. You know why?
Why?
It's always suspicious when I hang around, you know? That was just an excuse, all this business about the wings of the Eagles and all that. Maureen O'Hara, to get you down here because true daughter of the Emerald Isle and great motion picture star tonight, this is your life. Maureen O'Hara. How about that? I know you're Irish and it's related, Maureen, but don't hit me with one.
John Conte, thank you so much
for helping us,
life, Ralph, to be in on your trick.
Maureen, will you please accompany me to our El Capitan Theater here in Hollywood? Let's see, did the left eyebrow go up? Is she mad? No. Sis says if the left eyebrow goes up, look out, she'll swing. We're going to hear a life story, a story as delightfully charming as you are lovely. What more can one say? Oh, we fought everything else, boys. We can't be fighting that. Thanks to Sean Moore Rice and Donald Bouchard for providing the fitting escort for our lovely Irish colleen, Maureen O'Hara. Thanks, fellas. You gave them those tights. You know that for their band.
Yes, I remember very
Is that
well.
right, Sean? Now, Maureen, will you please sit down here in our frail chair of honor? Ooh, what a jump that was. We didn't dare have a... Sit over here, Maureen. We didn't dare have a police escort or anything like that because of the Academy Awards. The streets are just jammed, so we thought we'd just try to leg it tonight. I must say you outran me the last 80 yards there, girl.
You waited a little bit late in my life.
Let's begin at the beginning. As Maureen O'Hara, motion picture star, this is your life. Hey. It's in Ranelagh that you're born, Maureen, on the outskirts of Dublin, Ireland. The Emerald Isle, whose ancient heroes are St. Patrick and Brian Boru. Am I doing all right? Boru. The rich tradition of a colorful land is your natural heritage, and you love that tradition, don't you?
I certainly do.
Have you ever heard the eerie wail of the banshee?
Oh, I certainly have.
What is a banshee?
Well, in America, a banshee has been made so much fun of that people have come to laugh about it, but it's very serious in Ireland.
Oh, come now.
The word,
it really
it certainly is. Banshee means fairy woman.
I see.
Yeah.
See.
And I heard the banshee once, and also my brother Charles
When?
did too. But I heard the banshee with my father when my grandmother died.
You mean it wails at relatives dying?
Oh, it's a terrible wail.
Your dad, your father, an Irish patriot, Charles Stewart Parnell Fitzsimons, named in
That's
honor
right.
of Parnell, champion of Irish home rule. He owns at this time in your life a fine sporting goods shop. Your mother is Margarita Lilburn,
That's right.
a singer from whom you inherit both your beauty and your gift for song. But no one looking at little Maureen Fitzsimons could have quite imagined she would have become the gorgeous Maureen O'Hara. What were your nicknames at this time, Maureen? Now, come on, level with us. What were some of them?
Well, you know what they are, because if you don't know, I'm not going to tell you.
I know, but we won't tell them if you don't want to. I know one was Marshy, I think.
No, Machine, which my father always called
and
me
the
Machine.
one, the old...
Staub.
What's the old Staub mean?
Well, I don't know, but I always hoped and thought it was pretty nice. My Uncle Benny, who's now dead, called me that. He was my father's brother.
Dictionary in Ireland says it means kind of chunky or sturdily built, but I wouldn't believe, you know, understand, I wouldn't. You are the second. Did her left eyebrow go up? Did it? I'm going to stand there. They say if that left eyebrow goes up, move. You are the second of 6 children, 4 girls and 2 boys. Freckle-faced, the only redhead in your family. Maureen, the old star. You're also...
Go on.
You're also a tomboy.
That's right.
Maureen not only climbed trees and played boys' games, but she was a great trencher.
A great trencher. Well, I know that
I
means
know who that is.
If you do, this is miraculous. The voice of a girlhood chum of yours.
It's Moya Griffin.
From Carrickmines, County Dublin, Ireland. She was Moya Griffin, now Mrs. Thomas Hennessy, wife of the Governor of the Bank of Ireland. Moya Hennessy. How about that, Moya? Right off the bat. When Maureen was a little girl, you certainly didn't expect to see this gal, did you? You were not only her playmate, but you often had dinner at her house in Ranelagh, didn't you, Moya?
We did, and Maureen would eat, and then she'd go into the garden, and she'd run around the trees.
What?
She'd let the food settle down, then she'd come
Well,
back
you know
and say, I want
why?
more.
I used to
want more.
believe that
Yeah.
your body was full up to here with blood, and that the food just dropped into it like a pond, and if you ran around like this, that the food went to the bottom,
Would
and you had
sink.
room for more.
Oh, they had
There
fun
were
in the...
great evenings, you know. Remember your mother playing, and we were singing the way
Oh,
we used to
indeed,
end
yes.
up here.
The grand childhood you had, Maureen. And thank you, Moya, Mrs. Thomas Hennessy of Carrickmines, Ireland. You'll see Maureen later. Dear Maureen. Your athletic childhood, Maureen, foretells the athletic young woman you're to become, and who's to insist on doing most of her own stunts in movies.
Yes, well. She used to love to play an Irish game called Camogie.
How about it, Maureen, your mother and father, Mr. and Mrs. Charles Fitzsimons of Brentwood, California. Oh, she used to play camogie, Miss Fitzsimons?
Camogie, You know, it's pretty hard to fit the well-fed Irish on a little seat like this.
You're doing nobly. We conjectured over it, and I think it worked out all right, didn't it, there? What is camogie, Mr. Fitzsimons?
Well, Ralph, camogie is what you might call a form of legalized mayhem.
Oh, it is?
Yes, it's played with a stick,
Irish game.
much like a hockey stick, but much heavier, and a ball like your baseball.
Yes.
It's a strenuous game, and one in which you can get and give very hard knocks.
Yes, I remember. Do you remember, Maureen, when you came home one day from the Camogie game with a big swelling on your leg, and I said, you're not going to play Camogie again. You might get your face all knocked about.
What did you say to that, Maureen? Do you remember it?
Well, maybe that's what really did happen to me. I don't know.
I think you said the other girl got it good, so don't worry, or something like that.
Well, you know, in hockey, you can't swing your stick above your shoulder. But in camogie, you can take a round swing like that.
Oh, you can get them good.
And my favorite thing to do was wait till they were taking that round swing, and when they were up, I'd come in underneath and rob the ball.
Ooh. Your father, Maureen, was a director of a famous soccer football team called the...
Shamrock Rovers.
Shamrock Rovers, and you were its strongest rooter.
Best team in Ireland.
Well, I'm not debating that. I agree with you. And you were the unofficial mascot, too. You loved
That's
soccer,
right.
football so much. What did you want your father to do?
I wanted to start a soccer football team for women.
So that you could play. Besides athletics, you had a childhood enthusiasm for acting, Maureen.
She had that. Remember the playroom behind our garden in Ranelagh? Florrie! And the plays we used to give there, Maureen?
Yes, Maureen. Your sister, Florrie, now Mrs. Atlee Harding Clark from Montreal, Canada. Your sister, Margot, now the wife of Marine Lieutenant Colonel Harry Edwards of Oakton, Virginia. Your brothers, motion picture producer Charles Fitzsimons, and motion picture actor James, professionally known as James Fox. Get in the middle and let's kind of line them up again there. Let's see, that's Florrie over there, and Margot, and then, of course, Maureen. And there's Charles, and here is Jim, or James Fox, as he's known professionally in acting. As you know, Maureen, your sister Peggy in Ireland cannot be with us tonight, but this is the first time in 18 years that 7 of you have all been together. Isn't that
Well, with
wonderful?
Mommy and Daddy along, too.
Yes. When you were children, you and Maureen used to sleep in the same room, didn't you, Margot?
Yes, that's right. And Maureen used to sing me to sleep with Daddy's favorite lullabies.
Well, you know,
Not
Yes.
a shillelagh, I hope.
they say Margot can't carry a tune in a bucket, so maybe...
Well, she either
keep her father to sleep.
Father to sleep?
Yeah. Peggy and I slept on the far side of the house, and we used to write songs about one another, not complimentary ones.
Oh, sorry.
But let anybody else say anything against us, and they had the whole family to cope with.
Well, do you remember a little thing called 10 and 10 or 20?
That's the one we hadn't been asked about, I guess. How about those shows Maureen used to put on in the playhouse?
We had a thing that we used to say when we couldn't go any further, when it was the most awful insults we could think of, and we had nothing else to say, and just out of frustration, we said this thing that meant nothing. You remember? You yellow look and tell a look and tin straight copper colored head for a half-yard rug.
Tune in next week to understand what that is. We'll get the translation and send it back. Charles, what about that playhouse?
Well, Maureen used to write the shows, direct them, produce them, star in them, and of course we all played bit parts whether we liked it or not.
That was before Charlie was old enough to boss us around.
And it was from this homespun beginning that a great motion picture career was to blossom. Maureen, now you members of the family, don't go away because we have more wonderful family stories about Maureen's girlhood, stories in which you participated. As Maureen, we trace your rise to worldwide fame and stardom. Back to This Is Your Life, lovely motion picture star Maureen O'Hara. You're in your early teens, Maureen, staging family shows in the rear of your home in Ranelagh.
Remember, Maureen, once when the electric power gave out and you asked me to put my thumb in the socket while you pulled the switch? I think my eyes lit up.
Wiggle your finger around and touch the two little prongs.
That's right.
How about that, James?
Well, Mommy and Daddy used to be our main audience, but sometimes we had friends and neighbors, you know, that we used to rope in. And,
Kelly kids next door.
We used to charge them a penny, you remember, to see the show, and then we'd go down and buy sweets, and sometimes you'd share them.
Thing to say, my brother. Recognizing Maureen's dramatic talent, Mrs. Fitzsimons, in addition to her regular schooling, you send her, when she's 11, to the famous Ina Mary Burke Dramatic School in Dublin. Mr. Fitzsimons doesn't discover this for about a year. Now, why did you keep it from him, Mrs. Fitzsimons?
Well, I didn't know how he'd take it.
Oh?
Well, Ralph, I actually thought that acting was a vagrant type of life.
Yeah.
I wanted something more dependable for Maureen at that time.
Of course. And so, Maureen, you were also trained for another career. What was that?
Well, I'm a shorthand typist and bookkeeper.
Good for you. That'll make all the
matter-
secretaries and stenographers happy.
As a matter of fact, I took the script of The Quiet Man from Mr. Ford in shorthand and typed it. Not the script, but the notes.
Is that so? That's very interesting. I didn't have that in the index or anywhere here. Thank you. Thanks to this handsome family, Mr. and Mrs. Charles Fitzsimons, Sister Florrie and Margot, brothers Charles and James. Thanks, and God bless you. You'll see them all at the party at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, where your family and friends have been staying, Maureen. The whole gang will get together. When you're 15, Maureen, you win the first dramatic prize in the National FESH, which is a national competition of the performing arts. And when you're 17, you receive a screen test in London, a test that unfortunately leaves something to be desired.
Horrible.
But luck is on your side in the form of Charles Lawton and Eric Palmer, who are producing Jamaica Inn. Now, since Charles Lawton is now appearing in the play Major Barbara at the Morosco Theater in New York City, he cannot be here in California, Maureen, but he is speaking from his dressing room in New York City. You watch right with
I'll never forget the first time I saw you. It wasn't, I didn't see you in the flesh the first time. I saw you on a screen. Remember, Eric Palmer and I were looking for a girl. This is for the information of everybody. We were looking for a girl for a movie called Jamaica Inn. It was directed by Alfred Hitchcock. And one day we were running some film tests, and on the screen there was a girl. She looked at least 35. She was overdone up in some sort of nightclub evening dress, a very made-up face, and her hair in an over-grand style. But just for a split part of a second in the close-up, the light was off his face, and you could see it as the girl turned her head round. This extraordinarily beautiful profile of yours, which was absolutely invisible in all your makeup. Well, Mr. Palmer and I sent for you, and you came and you blew into the office like a hurricane. You had a tweed suit on with hair sticking out. You'd come from Ireland. And you blew into the office and you said, "What do you want with me?" So, took you out to lunch, and I never forgot. I asked you why you wanted to be an actress. I never forget your reply. You said, "When I was a child," you said, "I used to go down in the garden and talk to the flowers. And I would pretend I was the flowers talking back to myself. And it had to be a pretty nice girl, and it had to be a pretty good actress, too. And heaven knows you're both."
Thank you, Charles Lawton.
Maureen, we changed your name for Jamaica Inn from Maureen Fitzsimons to Maureen O'Hara.
Yes, Maureen, the voice of a great motion picture producer. He's recuperating from an illness, but he wanted to be here tonight to reenact his important role in your life. Here's Mr. Eric Palmer, right here. It's wonderful to tell you. Turn and let him face the camera here, Maureen, darling. Well, now, why did you... Come here, Mr. Palmer. We're going to hear... Maureen wants to see you. Why did you and Charles Lawton change Maureen's last name, Mr. Palmer?
The name was too long for a movie marquee, so we gave her a very big choice.
Yes.
We proposed either Maureen O'Mara or Maureen O'Hara.
Well, it was O'Hara.
It was.
It was
She
O'Hara.
certainly justified your faith in her, in starring her in Jamaica.
She surely did.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eric Palmer.
Well, I owe my whole
Maureen says I owe my whole career to Mr. Palmer. Well, now, 1939, still in your teens and with a magnificent motion picture career ahead, you're brought to Hollywood by RKO, Maureen. After a number of starring roles, the great director John Ford selects you to star in 20th Century Fox's How Green Was My Valley. You've starred in 5 pictures for him, more than for any other director. And there in our audience is Mr. John Ford, right down there.
My favorite director.
Well, you're going to see him at the party. John, what do you got to say to this?
Well, I heard Colin Jazz.
But I'm all good.
I hope it's all good. Knowing Mr. Ford and Maureen, I don't know, but I guess it was all right there. Thank you very much.
What are the girls doing here?
Here are 10 fine actresses who appeared with you in How Green Was My Valley, and whom John Ford calls his rosebuds. They were all in How Green Was My Valley. Thank you very much, Mr. Ford and the Rosebuds. In 1941, Maureen, you get married, a marriage that is dissolved a number of years later. June 30th, 1944, your daughter Bronwyn is born. On January 25th, 1946, you proudly become an American citizen. Sure, Maureen, it's the luck of the Irish that's given you such a fine daughter as your Bronwyn. And here she is. Here's the Bronwyn. How's Mommy doing? Great. That's good. You sit there by her, sweetheart. Oh, my. 2 beautiful girls. 2 beautiful girls now. As is true with every mother, Maureen, in your daughter's girlhood, you relive your own. And when you were Bronwyn's age and the most loyal fan of your father's football team, the Shamrock Rovers, you had a very special idol on that team.
Hello, Maureen. You have not heard my voice for about 16 years. I wonder, do you remember me?
Well, it's got to be one of the
Maureen, he was
fellas off the team.
one of the greatest players in the history of international soccer football, formerly center half and fullback of the Shamrock Rovers, flown here from Dublin, Ireland, your childhood idol, Joe Williams.
Joe Williams.
Joe Williams.
Lovely to see you again. Lovely. I brought you something now that you'll like from the boys. Instead of you getting autographs, all the boys autographed this ball for you.
Thank
boys
you.
that you used to like when you were young.
Thank you, Joe Williams of Dublin, Ireland. I'm sure Maureen will treasure this.
See you later.
You know, I went to my first dance with Joe.
You did? Tell us that.
Sure
Daddy didn't know.
Well, yes, he did. He gave me permission to Clark Rovers
Now,
won the
now
ball.
don't hit him. Now, don't hit him just because he forgot he took you to a dance at one time. Maureen needs
Well,
beside
I
you.
never forgot because he was my hero.
Joe, come back, will you? I'm going to get slugged here. Because this is your life. Maureen O'Hara, American of Irish birth. During World War II, you showed your devotion
to your adopted land by entertaining our troops, by selling large amounts of war bonds, and by unselfishly giving of your time to the Hollywood canteen. She simmered down. I think, Joe, it's going to be all right. I just wanted you for support. May good fortune be yours forever, or as the Irish say in Gaelic, Gnairi da Woherlath. Did I do it?
Yeah. Go Nairi on Woherlath. May the road rise with you.
That is
May
what...
you have good luck.
Right. That's what we wish you.
Thank you very much.
Be seated now. In a moment, we'll see what the road ahead holds for you, Maureen. For many years, Maureen, you have dearly wanted this pastel portrait of you by Ireland's most famous portrait painter, Sean O'Sullivan of Dublin, but you were unable to persuade him to part with it. Now, Bob Warren, let's let him see it.
But he told me he didn't know where it was.
Well, beyond that, he didn't want to part with it. The heart, though, of Mr. O'Sullivan has melted in typical Irish kindness, and we are now happy to present this treasured portrait to you. Did they get a good slant at it? There. This is your life, Maureen O'Hara. May the years ahead be green and sweet as the shamrock of old Ireland. Good night, and God bless you.
Thank you very much.
It's definitely difficult to imagine Maureen O'Hara as the mascot of a soccer team. What a lovely star. We're proud to list her among our This Is Your Life classics. Ralph Edwards, glad you could join us, and see you next time.